today?
April.
All right, it's April 28th, 9 o'clock. Let's call this meeting of the Marion County Board of Supervisors to order. Roll call. Jake.
Keisha Johnner.
Here.
Mark Ramey.
Here.
Steve McCombs. Here.
All right, I would entertain a motion to approve this morning's agenda.
Make motion to approve today's agenda.
Second. McCombs. Aye. Ramey.
Aye.
Johnner.
Aye.
Jake, any communications received by your office?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Take that as a no.
Yeah, sorry.
I don't think that line is on here, Jake, not that
Yeah.
I'm aware of. All right. Public comments, this is the portion of the agenda to speak on items not on this morning's agenda. Public can talk on items, board cannot act on those, they could become topics for future board of supervisor meetings. Are there any public comments on items not on this morning's agenda? We'll give a little bit of a break here.
Chris?
What was that?
He's gonna talk to me later. He's gonna speak later.
Steve?
What do you mean speak later?
We have a update, don't we?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Never mind.
We'll rescind that. No public comments. We'll entertain a motion to approve this morning's consent agenda.
Make motion we approve today's consent agenda.
Second. Ramey.
Aye?
Johnner.
Aye.
McCombs. Aye.
All right, very good. On to business. Declare the public hearing open. We've got proposed county ordinance 2020-65. So, Missy, you want to walk us through this?
Yep, we have REC on the meeting here as well. So this is a proposed 1 acre parcel. The survey was done, it has not been recorded until it's officially rezoned. Due to the size, it's large enough for the C1 that's proposed, but not for the A1 that it's in currently. So this is for a substation for the Pella REC. This property is being purchased from Betty Van Wyk. The proposed address is
Can you shut that?
240th place north of Pella, with a legal description of parcel C of the east 1/2 of the southeast quarter of 237718. This is in an area where the land use shows as low density residential, and due to the fact it is proposed to be rezoned for electrical substation restricted, and we are not proposing that there be a land use change. There is as well, I attached the substation abandonment clause if it were ever to be discontinued, the requirement for it to be removed, and then it would go back through the process to be rezoned back to the existing A1. There was no communications when it went through the zoning commission. It was approved by the zoning commission as well as the site plan via virtual meeting on April 7th.
Okay. This is the public hearing portion. Are there any public comments on the proposed county ordinance 2020-65? All right, hearing none, entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Make motion we close public hearing.
Second. Johnner.
Aye.
McCombs. Aye. Ramey.
Aye. Item number 2 is to approve the first reading of the aforementioned ordinance 2020-65. Is there a motion?
Make motion we approve ordinance 2020-65.
First reading.
First reading.
Second. McCombs. Aye. Ramey.
Aye.
Johnner.
Aye.
Item number 3 is to waive second and third reading of said ordinance and make final approval, amending the zoning map and authorization for final publication. Is there any discussion from the board before entertaining a motion. Okay, seeing none, would entertain a motion on item number 3 to waive second and third reading, authorize final publication.
Make motion, we waive readings second and third of 2020-65 for final approval.
Second. Ramey,
Aye,
Johnner,
Aye.
McCombs. Aye.
very good. Missy, thank you. Now we have the site plan submitted by Pella REC for an electrical substation on the property we've just been discussing. Missy, is there anybody talking about that, or it just follows
I
form,
mean, I can
right?
go over the basics. It's a fairly simple site plan.
Passed through the board, the
Yep,
board approved
went on
everything.
April 7th, they reviewed and approved, meets the setback requirements. Again, it's a 1 acre, due to the rezoning to C1 restricted. The 1 acre the substation will be fenced by 9.5 foot security, livestock fence with barbs on the top, posted signage, security lights. They've worked with Tyler's group, to get an approved driveway.
No issues there, Tyler?
Yeah, it's a pretty simple site plan. I guess, Stan, do you have anything to add?
I do not at this time, Missy. I think you've got everything in hand there.
Okay, all right, thanks, Stan.
Okay.
Well, any discussion from the board?
I don't
It's
have
pretty
any-
straightforward.
Yep.
Okay,
Great job, Missy, thank you.
there's no discussion. Would entertain a motion on this submitted site plan.
Make motion, approval of the site plan for the Pella REC electrical substation.
Second. Johnner,
Aye.
McCombs. Aye. Ramey.
Aye, very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Missy, thank you. All right, on to item number 5, which is a discussion, action if we need to, on the elevator project and use of capital improvement fund to offset some of the costs of that project. Jake, you want to walk us through this real quick?
This was a topic that you guys had discussed, I think during budget time, and then in the last meeting, and you asked to be kind of officially bring it forward again. So just as an overview, obviously there's an elevator project going on in the courthouse right now. It started a month ago or 2 months ago in earnest with the construction and things like that. So from a standpoint of paying for that, you have the general fund that you're planning on pulling monies from that, and then this capital projects fund, which is in essence the proceeds of the sale of the Marion County Care Facility that at the time was kind of designated for courthouse improvements as well. It's completely at your discretion.
Right.
So far, any of the invoices that have come through are coming from the general fund. And it was, with all the events going on, if you wanted to start pulling funds from this capital improvements fund to use towards paying part of that project or not, this amount of the $700,000 is budgeted in this budget year. It is also budgeted in next budget year, so from a standpoint of needing to amend or something like that, you don't have to. Obviously, as we've talked before, cash is cash, so you can't spend it twice.
Right.
But it is in the approved budget of either year, so that doesn't matter. The main bulk of the budgeting for the elevator project in the approved budget of FY21 would begin July 1. Anything you use out of the general fund in this year will be included in your soon to be coming budget amendment. So
Very good.
it kind of just depends if you want to set this aside yet and continue on general fund, or start using these funds now, or wait till the end. It's at your discretion.
Yeah, our projected total cost of the elevator project is
2.2 million.
2.2 million.
And that included the alternates and the sprinkler system and things of that nature.
Right, that's all in cost. So obviously, if we utilize the capital improvement fund, that provides us with a significant offset to a portion of those costs. So any discussion from the board?
Yeah, when we set this up, I don't think that we designated it specifically for courthouse projects. We set it up for any capital improvements, whatever that may be. I know we can use it for that. The only thing I guess I don't want to, we have so many ongoing things. I know Tyler, we're looking at Junction 92 or redoing that site, so I don't want to short Tyler in what he's trying to accomplish either. And I guess I'm trying to figure out how we're gonna do all this stuff.
Well, I personally, I mean, I'm looking at it and thinking we have to, the elevator we committed to. If we have to use those funds and then continue to save, I would love to be able to yearly be able to set aside a certain amount into the capital improvements fund.
I know Tyler and I had this conversation that, obviously, I think we come to some type of agreement, didn't we, Tyler? We thought that the courthouse project was, it had to be done.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
Okay. I just want to be upfront with everybody here.
No,
But like I said in my proposal, mine's not purely a want either. We just looked at some other projects on our existing facilities that are probably gonna have to happen just because we've been waiting so long.
right.
Yeah, I think that the thing is, regardless of where the cash comes from, general fund or capital improvement fund, to me, it doesn't matter. As Jake said, and we've been saying, the cash is cash. We've already committed to the elevator project. We've got a cost estimate of 2.2 million. We're going to have to pay for that, and we want to pay for that out of current cash. We don't want any debt as a result of this. So whether we take it out of the capital improvement fund or the general fund, to me, makes no real difference.
Okay.
And at the end of the day, I think we have the same flexibility in the general fund for anything Tyler wants to do, if we need to offset anything, what he plans for from a future perspective. I do agree with Keisha that if there is something we want to save for, we need to start to plan that in a capital improvement way. Start some set-asides from our general fund collections and get that in there. So that way we've got funds set aside for that. So even if we took 500,000 out of the capital improvement fund and used that as an offset to the elevator, that seeds it with 213, and we begin to save off of that for whatever the next thing is.
Yep.
Okay.
And set some of that aside.
Yeah, I just want us all to have that same conversation here.
Nope, I get that, yeah, and I think we need to,
But I do think it would, I would agree with about a $500,000 allocation out of the capital improvement fund to offset the elevator. Leaving about 213 in it, and then we can begin to save off of that.
Would Keisha's idea of setting money aside, would that start in FY21 or?
I think we can start that at,
22?
I think we start that at 21, Tyler.
Just from an accounting and a planning perspective, I think it would be easier for utilization of those dollars in a capital improvement fund versus in the general fund.
Yes.
But future boards could do whatever with that general
that's
fund
exactly right,
money.
yep.
That was the whole purpose of why
Yeah.
we set that up.
Yeah. So I agree, Steve, we don't want to exhaust it completely.
Right.
And because it does have a purpose, and the purpose is so that future boards will know there are dollars set aside specifically for this infrastructure cost. We've got aging buildings, we have aging infrastructure, we need to make some adjustments so they continue to function for the sake of the public and for the safety of our employees, et cetera. So that's why it exists. So I would say if we took 500 out of this, allocated it to the elevator fund or to the elevator project, and then Jake, we probably need to have a discussion for the next budget cycle, what would be our allocation to that fund to begin to plan for whatever that next project is.
And I think I would recommend in the FY21, even though that budget is set, you would take some sort of formal action to
And that's-
designate that money
Yeah.
from that general fund, when you decide
Yeah,
you can do that.
yeah,
And
that's
an
what-
action into that.
I agree, I think that's what we should do. So once we get some time to digest everything,
Right.
let's put that on an agenda.
Yeah, and that would probably that would begin for 21.
Yep,
Yes.
agreed. Any additional discussion?
Just one question, do you, care if that allocation out of that capital improvements fund is in the FY 20 year or the 21 year? Do you care? And the reason I'm asking that will affect, how much you need to amend coming out of the general fund for the current bills.
Yeah,
For
so
the construction that started.
where are we at in terms of amendment? Do we know what our variance is right now?
Well, there wasn't a specific dollar amount budgeted in FY 20 for elevator. It kind of came on fairly quickly. So whatever we spend out of this year, we will project in that amendment that's coming real soon. So I think we're up at about just over 200,000 used.
Okay, so why don't we do it in FY
And
20?
we got about 2 more months to go, so,
Let's do FY 20.
because it is budgeted for already.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So for clarification, the remainder of the elevator project is coming out of the general fund?
Correct. Correct. Yeah, we don't want to incur any debt for this, and we don't need to. There's no need to do that. Okay. Any additional discussion? Okay. So with that, I proposed it, but I would entertain a motion to allocate $500,000 out of the capital improvement fund for the courthouse elevator project.
So moved.
Second.
McCombs,
Aye.
Ramey,
Aye?
Johnner,
Aye.
Very good, thank you. Item number 6 is a discussion on, we call it the Marion County Employee Furlough Program. I'm going to give a little background to this, and then Keisha has been working on this with Lisa. We put an announcement out on Thursday to our employees, basically saying this: due to the COVID-19 impact on our operations, temporary furloughs began on April 2nd for a few part-time employees and for some of our what we deem non-essential full-time staff. Those furloughs began on the 27th, or will begin on the 27th. Employees will keep all health benefits and other benefits through those furlough periods, and the length is still to be determined. Given the fact we are reopening, or the governor is starting to reopen, that length could be shorter than anticipated originally. So, purpose of doing this is to take advantage of the COVID-19 funding for unemployment, both at a state and federal level. It puts our employees who are on furlough, we've run the math on that, to put them in a position where they're not hurt financially. In addition, they retain their insurance benefits at the current rate and the current split between county cost and individual costs, so they're not hurt there. And so I'll let you two report out on what we've done so far and how that's been received. I think in general, what I've heard is it's been positive. Is that correct?
Yes,
Lisa, do you have anything?
I'll let Keisha take it away.
Okay, Keisha?
No, I just think that trying to be mindful in what you said, Mark. Be mindful, and for tax dollars wise, I know that our county has been affected, and with the close of operations. Lisa, do you have an update of how many? I don't recall how many we currently have.
I'm just gonna.
We have part-time and
I'm pulling it up as we speak. I'm gonna say there's 7 full-time and 4 part-time.
that would be 8. So there's 12 because there's 8 full-time, isn't there? Is there 8 or is there
No, it must be 7 and 5.
7 and 5? Okay.
7 and 5,
Okay.
sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
7
12.
full-time, 5 part-time.
Yep.
So-
Your lower is part-time.
So one of the reasons we did this, and you two took the lead on organizing this, was to see, based on the fact that we had, we've limited public access
Yep.
to a lot of our facilities because of COVID-19. We're doing things on an appointment-only basis. We've got some employees just didn't have any work. So rather than pay them, we decided to try this as other employers have done. What, do you have what's the savings to the county in dollars by doing this? Again, we're not hurting the employees at all.
I don't have the part-times figured in my calculations right now, so we were sitting at,
40. Yeah, it's right, it's,
over 50.
yeah, it's over 50, but it's not a, I don't have the final calculation on that if you don't have the part-time in
I
it.
did not factor in part-time when I did my spreadsheet. Here, right here. My speedy computer's loading.
Is it a total for all 7 full-time? Is that what you're saying?
There's one part-time in there, which comes from the public health department. And so we're sitting just under 55,000 with just the full-time.
And that's savings to our salary line.
And that's assuming, yes, and that's assuming that we will pay the unemployment. The
Yes,
state
we
part.
will, state part unemployment, yes.
Yeah,
So if we don't end up paying that, then the savings will be even greater.
why wouldn't we pay it?
Well, the workforce development is
We plan
paying
on,
the first 180 million.
Oh, because of COVID-19,
Yeah,
there's some
COVID, yeah.
additional
They were
funding.
paying the first
Got it.
180 million.
Got it, okay.
We anticipate that we'll have to pay that, but we could see that we get in on some of that money, so the savings will be greater if we don't pay any of that.
Okay, all right,
we're being conservative.
We're
on
being
it.
very conservative.
okay, very good.
Yeah,
So,
that's on the very conservative
Yeah.
side.
so I think it's important to note that, it's about a $50,000 savings estimated so far on the salary line, which is general fund money and Fund 2, Jake, or is it all out of Fund 1?
It's, it's Fund 1 and 2.
Okay.
Mainly Fund 1. Fund 2 is, IPERS and FICA. So you'll
So,
have a little bit of savings out of Fund 2.
and we realize that COVID funding is tax money too. It's our tax money, it's our residents' tax money being leveraged in a different way to save a little bit of money at the local level. But when people didn't have any work because of change in operations, I think this is a good way for them, especially with childcare issues and some of the things that they're dealing with. It's probably been beneficial for some folks.
We actually had 2 people that sent thank you emails.
Okay.
So the people that have been furloughed, have they had any difficulty in the process of getting their
I've not
unemployment?
heard, they were instructed to let me know if they did. The part-timers, they went through the process early in April, and I got documentation for all of them. They all filed for unemployment. So I have not heard that they haven't gotten anything. So,
So no news is good news.
no news is good news. And the extra 600 finally kicked in on the 17th of April. So,
I mean, you hear all the stories, all there's money out there, but accessing it seems in some instances seems to be a problem.
so I have personally gone through it. My husband was on, they call it layoff last week for Mir. So I've been through the process. I filed his claim. We got the letter stating, the green letter that states how much he's gonna get weekly from the state. And I anticipate that we'll have the money in our account Friday with this extra $600.
From the federal.
So you haven't seen it either?
Well, but it takes 10 days for the process.
Okay.
So
All right.
I anticipate to see my husband's on Friday, this Friday.
Yeah, I know it all sounds good. I'm just hoping that it's working for the people that we furloughed.
And so the people that we have furloughed, I tell them, Keisha and Kim can vouch that Stacy and Dell at Kim's office are help the general public with unemployment claims. So we tell them, if you don't have a computer or if you have trouble, contact me or contact Stacy and Dell, because Stacy and Dell do that probably every day.
Well, that's good, because
So-
I'm glad we're making it as easy as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lisa did an excellent job in preparing the information and giving it to them, and yes, and Lisa and I personally both spoke with Iowa Workforce Development. We wanted to make sure that the process, and so we totally, understood what was going on, and like Mark said, when it's not going to hurt the employee, this is the time when they don't have the work to
Yeah,
do.
well, I have total faith in you guys, so
Yeah.
I'm sure that you guys are doing it correctly.
And if anybody hears that somebody has trouble and they're not contacting me, they need to contact me.
Yeah, Lisa's the point of contact.
So,
Okay, good.
yep, and we made that pretty, known in the presentations when we talk to individuals. Any communication needs to come through me. If you're furloughed, you come through me. Anything you ask, it's just to separate the chance for everybody to talk about business if they contact Kim or somebody else. So any communication will come from me.
Okay.
And I hope that that's both ways, so.
Well, that's good, I'm glad. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, all right, good job, very good. If no additional discussion on this, would entertain a motion to close discussion.
Motion, we close the session.
Second?
Johnner,
Aye.
Combs,
Aye.
Ramey,
Aye. All right, very good. On to the annual evaluation of our county engineer. He did not request a closed meeting, so this will be done during open. Tyler? How long have you been doing this now?
6.5 years.
6.5 years. And it's flown by?
It really has.
All right, so we got a memo here. We got a memo here, Tyler, some information you have provided. Is there anything you'd like to start off with as we get into this process?
Just an update on since I'm a contract employee, I currently have a contract in place which will expire June 30 of 2021.
21, right, yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
So, and as part of that, my salary is negotiable annually. So that's hopefully part of the discussion.
Yep. So one of the things we do need to make a note on, Jake, is we gotta start working on a new contract draft before that expires. We still got a little bit of time, but it doesn't hurt to get ahead of the curve. Ford, do you have any questions for Tyler as we kick this off?
I don't have a lot of questions, Tyler, because you do excellent work. You always come prepared, and I appreciate that. I appreciate you getting back to us, especially when we have questions. I know I stated this last year, but the amount of calls that I don't receive is wonderful, and I appreciate that. I do. I know that your department receives a lot of calls, but that means that your department's doing their job, but that also means great leadership. So I want to praise you on that and have you continue to, that's excellent work. Tyler, I do have one question, and I want to ask you this before I forget. In your employment agreement, I noticed that for like reimbursements for like your phone and stuff, is that different? Is that within this agreement? I was trying to look at that real quick. Isn't it like a $45 versus we typically pay $55? Is that?
Our department's policy in our tech policy is $45 matching the price for a government plan per Andrew.
Okay, is that where that comes from?
Our employees have personal phones that get reimbursed. Everyone who I require to have 24-hour availability on call. So we reimburse at the same rate we could have a government plan for.
Same rate, okay.
And every couple of years we debate on whether we want to keep doing that or go to a government plan. There are advantages and disadvantages to both, but for now we've stuck with a reimbursement.
Okay, all right.
Which we did lower twice since I've been here. When I started, it was a higher rate. I don't remember the price. And then a couple of years ago, we lowered it again because government rates. We have spreadsheets showing the average rates between
what-
Verizon and
Jake, why
US
don't-
Cellular and
County, we reimburse at what,
We do
55?
55.
Yeah,
Why is that? Why
That
is
was originally established as the IRS rate.
yes.
But that's not the cost of the plan? Or do we
Well,
know?
people are using their own cell phones.
Okay,
If
so
the-
that's the
If the
difference.
county's paying for your phone, the county has your phone.
Yeah, okay, I got
It's
it,
the reimbursement rate of a personal.
got it.
but this
the
is their
that's the
personal
IRS.
phones they're using, correct?
They're using their personal phone.
I
Yeah.
think when your rate back then was based on whether it was a smartphone or
It was.
maybe there was a higher rate for a smartphone, obviously, because it's probably higher cost.
Yeah.
Plan.
We'll circle back on that.
Yeah, I
We
think
can
it's
check on
definitely
that
something
again.
that we need to,
Okay.
review, and I didn't wanna, forget about that, because when you're looking through the claims, I noticed that, and, yeah, so. Tyler, do you have anything, I mean, projects wise, I know you do your quarterly updates oftentimes with us, you know, and so we have the understanding there. I know you wanna do the 92 project, if you could. I mean, you know, if that's, the old 92 and that project.
It'll be done this week.
No, the facility.
Junction.
The
Oh,
Joe
I'm
nine,
sorry.
Junction 92, yeah.
Paving will be done this week.
That escalated quickly.
Yeah. So, yeah. Is there any other big projects that you,
Yeah, I mean, we're doing a couple new things this year. We did a test section of microsurfacing a couple years ago. We're gonna be doing like 6 miles of that this year. So,
microsurf?
microsurfacing, it's kind of like a seal coat.
Okay.
It'll be going over the top of roads that are already seal coat.
Just fairly new technology, Tyler?
It's new. The DOT's been doing it probably for 10 years.
Okay.
But they're typically putting it over pavements. Seal coat isn't a pavement, but we've been seeing fairly good results on our test section. So there's just a little more longevity there, a little better wearing surface. Doesn't create some of the problems that we have with seal coats.
Okay.
So it is slightly more expensive, but not too bad.
So is this something that you seal coat, but then you come, I mean, yeah, I
So the
guess,
existing roads are seal coat, we'll do the microsurfacing.
on top of that?
It like a seal coat will have to be redone.
Okay.
Every 4 to 5 years probably, seal coats every 3 to 4. You know, it's not a fix all, just like seal coat. It's just a wearing surface that will eventually wear out.
Okay.
But we do see some advantages there with minimal cost inflation, so, compared to the seal coat. And it won't be for every road. Every seal coat in the county will not eventually be microsurface. There are some that are candidates and some that are not. So, we're gonna try, we have 2 test sections of base stabilization on gravel roads that are performing really well.
Base stabilization is what you
So
call it?
gravel road stabilization, one off of Highway 14 leading to Painted Rocks. The other was the 92nd Avenue seal coat that we ground up, if you remember, last spring.
Yep.
And we stabilized that, and it is also performing very well, way better than the seal coat that was there.
Really? So when you do that stabilization, how does that affect the maintaining of that road? Does that,
So, good question. I mean, that's the purpose, is to reduce maintenance and in turn reduce cost in the maintenance, because that's the only cost we have on gravel. The one on leading to Painted Rocks, it's been in place for 2.5 years now, and we blade it 2 to 3 times a year,
really?
and we haven't rocked it since. And that road is a uphill away from a highway, so it's a downhill stop condition, so
Yeah.
very prone to washboarding, high traffic to a subdivision on a gravel road. We were blading it once a week, sometimes twice a week prior to that, and we were rocking it twice a year. So the payoff there's about 6 years.
So what, I mean, what
On a
would
higher
that,
volume road, I'm thinking 4 to 5 year payoff.
yeah, okay,
And same at Donnelly, you know, we were spending about $16,000 a year on average to seal coat. We did not rock that after the stabilization last year. We have no plans to rock it this year. I think in the last year and a half, we've only bladed it maybe 3 times. Once this spring and a couple times last year. So we have 5 miles of that planned this year, base stabilization.
okay.
Having a contractor come in and do it. Do the chemical stabilization part, we'll do the blading and compacting behind them. But, you know, 4 to 5 years savings there. I mean,
What does that cost versus, you know, your gravel? I mean, what's the, do you
well,
have that?
yeah, it's gonna be about 5 times as much.
Okay, but if you're not having to put in,
Time and, time, you know, we could reallocate truck drivers and blade guys to focus on other roads. It's not gonna be in every road thing.
no, I know.
It makes a
But
lot
is
more
there
sense when you're higher
counters?
volume
You're right,
roads.
is there counties that do this and they're higher
Yep,
and it has been,
Washington County and Des Moines County. So last year, Mike, our road maintenance supervisor, and I went out to Washington County. And if you guys remember last spring, it was not a good spring for gravel
Correct.
roads. We went out there in April last year, right in the thick of the storm. And they have done 25 miles over the past 5 years of base stabilization. They've used 4 different products. The majority of those 25 miles have been with the product we would like to move forward with this year. And we drove some of those roads and they were rolled down like highways last spring. And they said they blade them a couple times a year. One has a hog slat business on it,
wow,
and they have ready mix trucks coming in and out every day, 100 trucks a day. And we drove that road and it looked very good. I will say their roads generally are flatter and have better cross sections overall than ours,
Okay.
just based on the area.
Mhm.
But again, we will pick and choose our roads, and they do invest significant dollars in regrading, replacing culverts prior to doing this.
Okay.
Which we would do also. We have a plan to regrade 6 to 7 miles of road every year, in which we're looking at the culverts, regrading, making sure we have drainage, and then maybe the following year we would look at something like this.
Remind me how much do we have in gravel roads, do you know?
650 miles. And we would look at doing maybe 5 miles a year. The cost of the contractor is gonna be about $10,000 a mile. It's gonna be about $10,000 a mile to buy the product. And then we will have to rent some compaction equipment, use our motor graders, and then rock it at 4 times the rock that we would normally put on a road. So it's an investment, but the life cycle cost is where we see the benefit.
It's cheaper than pavement.
Yes, and inflating prices of rock make it more attractive also.
Okay. Thank you for exploring that. I do think that that's something that, you know, we need to continue to further to look at and.
Yeah.
So let's talk, Tyler, about performance.
Yep.
And then get to talking about money. That's why we do these things, I think, right? Unless you don't want any money.
Well,
Do it for free?
nah, not for free.
Okay, I just want to throw that out there. So we got, what?
I work for free.
Three areas and we've talked about this in the past, when we think about performance. Organizational health, project planning, strategic planning management, and then financial oversight. To me, those are the 3 major components of your job.
Okay, yep.
And when I look at where we stand, not just after 6 years, but even on a year-over-year basis, from a county perspective, I think in all 3 areas, we're probably at our highest level of performance. And I think that's largely due to your leadership. I think from an organizational health standpoint, and Steve can speak to this, he worked in that department, and knows all the guys, but I think we have a very dedicated crew. I think they do a great job. I think that's a testament to letting people do their work, trusting people to do their work, but also the leadership and strategy that goes behind that. Project planning, your PowerPoints on what we have to do and how we have to do it, just like this discussion. Some people might say they're excessively detailed, but what it does is it gives us a very good picture on what we're trying to accomplish, how we're going to get that done, and when we will get it done. And I think it's been incredibly instructive. The third area, financial management, I work in this sector, and I would hire you in my world from a financial management perspective. So I think in all three areas, I would give you extraordinarily high marks for what you've done for Marion County and our residents. Customer service would be probably that fourth area. I think you and your team do a fantastic job with dealing with public, and it's not easy dealing with the public. So anyway, I think you're a tremendous asset to our county, our taxpayers, and what we're trying to do here in Marion County in providing the best road system, transportation system that we can, given our limitations, predominantly money, and what we're able to do. And I think you guys make the most out of that. So I would give you very, very high marks, Tyler, in what you've been doing. Steve?
Oh, I totally agree. Like you said, I worked with Tyler when he first come on board, and I couldn't have been more impressed with his professionalism. And working with me had to be a little bit difficult to begin with, but we figured it out.
So are you saying we should compensate him for having to work with you, Steve, or
You already
hazard
have.
pay? Is that what you're saying?
You've already compensated him for working with me.
All right.
Let's get down to it. What do you think's fair, Tyler?
I am proposing 3%, as I looked at the numbers again this morning from the other county engineers. I think we're right in line with similar years of experience.
A 3% would put you within the District 5 average then.
Yeah.
Pretty much, right?
Yeah, and, well, I don't have the numbers in front of me,
Right,
but
yeah.
I think,
It will.
yeah, I mean, years of experience there is probably a little
It's a little
higher. But there are a lot of younger county engineers, with, in that 4 to 5 year, 6 year, 7 years of experience, or years in position, maybe is a better term. I know you like the word fair, but I would say 3% fair.
Okay. When I looked at ISAC, Tyler, I brought in the 7 counties within the same population, similar to what I've done in the past. And that average was 112,967. So your average was close. I mean, you went with it looks like years of experience and such. So.
Did your numbers reflect years of experience?
Some of those may be shared county engineers too.
No, this is Webster and Wapello, Sioux, and then of course us, Des Moines, Jasper, and Lee. So we're the smaller, it goes up, we're in the 30,000, population range. So, yeah, I didn't do the years of experience. I mean, it does have it, and it varies from 0 to 25, type,
Yeah.
so.
And Webster's he's been an assistant there for a number of years and just took the position.
He did, yep, and he just took the position, and he started at 108. So, yeah, at a 3%, you would be at roughly 106.
106.9.
just under 107.
Um, All right. Steve, are you feeling?
Well,
The-
I mean, I wouldn't have a problem recommending 4% to get him closer to that intermediate salary range.
Okay. I'm fine with either 3 or 4. And it's because of the intermediate that we need to be, But that's where I'm leaning towards that.
Finding a capable county engineer is very difficult.
it is.
I remember that.
And I also know that you're
And that still wouldn't even get him to the average. I mean, the
No,
4,
but
the 4%
But it'd
would.
get him a lot closer. And it would be a little bit higher than the average salary for a District 5 engineer, county engineer. But I also know that, I believe you're committed to the area. I know that you are. Obviously, I wouldn't want to lose you anywhere. I don't expect that to happen anytime soon, irregardless, but it's always a possibility, I guess, if, money talks and everything else walks. So I'm okay with the 4%. I know we talked about rewarding people that did an outstanding job.
You making that motion?
I moved that we do 4%.
All right, I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and support for 4.
Ramey,
Aye.
Johnner,
Aye.
McCombs.
All right,
Very good. Tyler, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tyler.
Right.
now get old 92 done so I can come down that.
The road or the building?
Right.
You got G46 done quick. Is it G46?
Can we get a county map
What's,
put in
is that
here,
what's the number? What's the number of the?
G46.
Yeah.
It's not done.
please?
But it's
Okay, thank you.
Do we have any updates this morning?
Chris.
yes. Sorry, I thought we were going to talk about Chris. He was
Go
in the
get
other
him,
room.
bring him in here, would you?
Come in here, Chris.
We got room for one.
Yeah, let me know.
I had a quick update.
Yes.
Kudos to Brian and Tammy in my office. They worked together and applied for an IMWCA grant up to $10,000. We were awarded $6,000 for work zone detection devices that our guys will wear. It'll vibrate and sound an alarm if a vehicle enters our work zone.
Really?
One lane closure. And we have an enclosed trailer with all our signage for our lane closures, and we got a grant to wrap that with public safety messages. So we're having a work zone safety message on one side. The front will say, see your best, drive your best, your friends, family, and neighbors are at work. And then the other side is a texting and driving, or distracted driving message. And we're gonna have the road department logo, sheriff's department, and IMWCA logo on it, so.
Awesome.
So
Wonderful.
kudos to those guys for writing an awesome grant. and-
No, that is great job.
Very good.
That'll be done by the end of May.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Very good.
That's great.
Kinda hits home after seeing what that guy, what happened last year
Yeah.
in Des Moines yesterday.
Yeah. Okay, updates, other items.
Chris, yeah. Do you have a-
What do you want me to specifically update on?
Well, we can talk about what we just talked to Parksville this morning.
Fence for VA. Number one, trees are in a horrible, horrible place. We're losing large limbs. We just dropped 3 large trees yesterday that were in a very bad state with multiple people walking under them. So we took care of that. There's probably 50 more out there that probably need to come down, just for safety concerns. As you know, we've been talking about a fence. We have solid numbers on that fence now, as of this morning.
Okay.
So,
Good. So, because we've got media on the call as well, the Board of Supervisors is going to be considering putting a fence around the VA property, closing it off to public access. There are several reasons for that. First and foremost being public safety. so that we can clear out the dead trees and fallen branches in the area. As Chris and the team have gone out there and looked at these trees that have been marked by Steve and DNR, these are not safe and could, literally fall down with the slightest gust of wind. So we figured that it's better to close that off, get those trees cleared out. Second reason is we're going to have Alliant Energy on the property doing some gas main work. They called us yesterday, so we can't have the public around for that. And third, we need to get this ready for as a potential construction demolition site. So we've got other work we have to do as far as you can see the Confluence Group is out there doing their work as they start working on a master plan and developing a project plan for us, and as we partner with the City of Knoxville. So we've got a lot of reasons now why it's not a park. Never was intended to be a park. Right now, it's a bunch of old dilapidated buildings that we need to start thinking about what the next steps are. So you'll see a fence going up, and we need to treat this as more of a construction development zone than a walking park. Fair?
What do you need from us, Chris, to go ahead and do we need a formal action to have him accept the bid?
Do we have a formal bid yet, Chris?
Well, we
We have a
just have,
formal number, he's gonna send the paperwork over to me this morning, it's well below public bid threshold.
Okay, so we don't need, okay.
I guess we just wanna get him to give the go-ahead so we can get.
Well, let's get the number, and since we're still having our rolling
Okay.
meetings, Steve,
That's fine.
we can make
Because it's COVID, yeah.
an addendum to an agenda
Sure.
here the next day to get that number.
I think, Chris and I also talked this morning about the soft opening maybe for the the East Elementary Courthouse, at least for voting purposes. I believe Chris is going to get the material ordered directly. Right?
For the ADA ramp
Yeah, for
indoors,
the
yes,
ADA
they'll be
ramp.
ready today.
And of course, Chris is going to be, taking a little time off here, so the guys and I will probably get that put together as soon as we get the material.
Okay.
And what we talked about, Jake talked about yesterday, we're gonna put up a chain barrier on that stairwell to help Deputy Brown out on his, trying to keep people from coming up into the other part of the building while they're voting. So
Okay.
we're moving ahead.
Okay. Good.
Things are happening.
Voting, that's May 4th. Yeah, so it's not open. It's not open currently. We need to make sure that the public is aware of that.
And let me be clear, I believe in our conversation yesterday that the only soft opening will be for voting purposes, nothing else.
That and Michaela is working on a plan for driver's license stations.
We're working on it, yep. But there's nothing in concrete yet.
As part of the soft opening plan, or it's definite that we're gonna start.
Well, she's working on a plan to see how that can be accommodated, given restrictions and location and those things.
We'll be talking about it, but
Okay.
there's nothing out there publicly
Okay.
yet.
All right.
Yep.
Okay.
So getting back to the VA mark, so we're discouraging people to be on the property, meaning like walking, biking.
We're not discouraging it, we're saying don't come on the property.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that we were
I mean,
being clear
it's-
to that and being clear to,
we're closing the property.
okay,
Let's-
yep,
And we're doing it for the reasons stated,
yes.
so that should be pretty clear.
Obviously,
Wanted to reiterate
it's going
that.
to be, the enforcement part of that is going to be a little difficult till the fence is up, but people need to be aware that that's,
Well, they need to be aware, it's a safety issue.
yes.
It is a serious safety issue. I don't know how many times the guys yesterday had people walking while they were cutting down trees.
I know.
And I don't want someone to get crushed by a falling branch or a tree. So, it's too bad we have to do that, but in order to get some of that dead stuff out of there, we can't have people walking through there while the guys are working.
Well, even while they're mowing with the branches there.
Oh my gosh, if something shot out from a mower, So this is maximum safety for the population, for the people, but it's also a liability issue for the county. We just can't do that.
Right.
We have to take maximum safeties while we're working on these things, and that's just the way it's gonna be,
Okay.
so.
We'll communicate that with the city, and so,
We already have.
all right.
So.
Okay.
Okay,
I think, and in our plan on the fence, especially during the demolition phase, we're going to have 3 entry and exit points that we're gonna deem as entry exit points for vehicle traffic, correct, Chris? Probably 2 of them will probably be the ones that were used mostly for demolition. But since we've got one there against Young's Park already, you know, we'll have to gate that better.
right.
So, you know, if you look at, when we get the overall cost, probably maybe a fourth of that bid is gonna be just gate costs. So,
Yeah, so we get it.
Are there any other updates we have right now?
None. I had planning and zoning last night. They're continuing forth with, projects in Pella, which is good. And so, but yeah, nothing.
All right, good. With that, would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Ramey,
Aye.
Johnner,
Aye.
McCombs.
Aye.
All right, we are adjourned. Thank you. Kind of a new world, but.